Hello, SF Tech. My name is Carl Call, and together with Nickie Himaya, we created STAT, your virtual clinic. So, describe the problem you are trying to solve. Mainly, it's the irony of going out to get treated in the middle of COVID 19. Imagine that, going out in the middle of COVID 19. How bad does that sound? Second is, of course, the other common problems, thinking long term, is distance and commuting, the stress over the unknown looming sensations, like, oh no, what disease is this gonna be? Then you're gonna be going to Google and searching for symptoms that are way ahead your playing field, making you overthink and leading to more diseases. Hopefully not. And also long, unnecessary, risky queues. Exposure to more diseases. Another contradiction. So, describe the research you did on the way to developing your app. Since health is in my hands, I researched a lot. So I like learning, so it's a win-win situation. So first what I did was learn the concept of telemedicine because in fact I did not actually know that telemedicine is a category on its own. I thought we were like the first ones. So the concept of telemedicine. We adhered to national and international standards. Let me switch my screen as shown by here. Telemedicine guidance for the Philippines. This was made in April 2020. And it's by a few people from UP, College of Medicine. And for the international standards, it will be from here. Brian Yang's case study on how they created a telemedicine application for a medical company. Taking note of everything he said, especially here, the key features of telemedicine software. We followed that. Next is we imitated the electronic health record system via my uncle, who's a physical therapist in Canada. He actually introduced me to the system and showed me how efficient it was compared to the Philippines. And so I did my research and look what I found. Excuse the delay. So, in brief, it's since 2010, right? And what it looks like basically is like this. It gives all the basic information, your medications, encounter history, even the details of your general practitioner, which is important. Next, lastly, is how an electronic prescription works, since we are now transitioning to the digital age, paperless era. And as such, I opted for an electronic prescription because not only of the paperless era thing, but also because of how it is contactless. And so when I thought of that, another idea popped into my head, and that is getting your medications delivered to your area. That way the experience will be fully contactless. So what is electronic prescription and the benefits of it? Fewer callbacks from pharmacies due to bad handwriting, paper files to place, more room for storage and less hassle for the trees, improved patient outcome by reducing preventable errors. For example, allergies. Now we're done with that. We can go back, and next thing I researched was COVID monitoring. Since of course the app is centered around COVID, I also made how you can self-monitor. Like, there are also specific people who are more at risk with COVID, especially those with diabetes and lung problems. So I did do that. And for that, here is my reference by CDC. Actually, it's by CDC. And here is time check. Is it directly observed by somebody? Temperature and symptoms. Temperature, fever, cough, shortness of breath, chest pain, and others. You can also say there's no symptoms, which is what we're praying for right now. And as for the diabetes and lungs, here is the document to support it. The conclusion: diabetes is associated with increased incidence and severity of COVID-19. Treating diabetes at present with restriction of movement is challenging. However, they even endorsed innovation, which is a bonus. Innovations like telemedicine can be useful in these trying times. And lastly, for the lungs, a frequently asked question about what a pulse oximeter is, and COVID-19, and the purpose of it is to estimate the oxygen saturation. Well, for diabetes, we look at the blood sugar, glucose, and the such. And so, COVID can bring COVID pneumonia, and if it's possible, you might actually have a drop in blood oxygen level without experiencing any difficulty breathing. That's why the pulse oximeter is a good idea, and also why I placed it in the COVID self-monitoring area for those who have access to it. Next up is patient privacy. That's a huge topic to deal with right now, especially with the leaks of everything, where privacy is very not taken care of well. So, patient privacy, I adhere to Philippines Data Privacy Act, or the Republic Act 10173. Not only that, there is also a set of rules specifically for medicine or health records called the HIPAA compliance. Let's get into that, shall we? So here is the beginner's guide to Republic Act 10173. So basically, it's an act that protects individuals from unauthorized processing of personal information that is private, not publicly available, and identifiable where the identity of the individual is apparent either through direct attribution or when put together with available information. So it basically protects you from people with malicious intents, like they could know my address right now if my data was leaked. Oh no, not a raid. Okay. And then HIPAA compliance is actually basically just it keeps people's healthcare data private. And for example, they protect names, birth, death or treatment dates, contact information, social security numbers, medical record numbers, that is for electronic health records, photographs, finger and voice prints, and other unique identifiers. So it applies to healthcare providers and health insurance companies, also healthcare clearinghouses. And as for my business model, of course, since the app needs survivability, well, it's nice to think that the government will be funding this. It's always better to have a backup plan, isn't it? Okay, so basically, we prepay the doctors X amount for X hours, and every patient pays X, and profit depends on the patients. So let's take an example. Let's say we prepay the doctors 5,000 pesos for 3 hours. Each patient consultation on average lasts about 20 minutes, and we charge patients 800 pesos each. So 9 patients per doctor, that's 9 times 8. That's 8,100 pesos. We have 3,100 in profit. But if the patient count is less than 6, well, we experience a loss. And of course, what would research be without actual feedback from respondents? And so I did a UI UX testing for patients, and another one for the doctors. So here is the summary of my result of my survey. They're 1, open to the idea of telemed. 2, and what their biggest problem is usually long lines and unnecessary exposure. Next to that is troublesome commuting and uncertainty of availability. Also, when asked if they would recommend this app in the future to their family and friends, 100% of 32 people said yes. Okay, now let's look at that, shall we? Here is the UX research survey for STAT. Oh, in fact, we have 33 responses now. That's unexpected, but here are the questions. That's basic info, pre-app questionnaire, if you could, what are the problems. Some people actually really helped me and help me with the back end side of the app. And in fact, the business model was tipped to me by this certain person. I would really like to thank him. And as a navigation of prototype, here you can see the prototype, which we will be diving in later. And so these were the results. If you could go to a doctor, would you? Yes, from a variety of people, name hidden for privacy purposes, from a student, that's actually a student, not unemployed, a teacher, a software developer, a game developer, a graphic designer, marketing executives, and registered nurses, which could actually be helpful for the doctor side. And anyway, let's tackle the doctor side. They also, if they were asked if they could visit a patient virtually, they said they would. 100% of them said they would. And again, 100% said risk of exposure, what their previous problem was. And overall, most of them got the job done, as for the prototype testing, that is. And they also want to patient contact. It's good, actually, a certain nurse said. And they would suggest it to patients if it is free. So let's get into the doctor survey. Here's their survey. It's almost quite similar, except this one's aimed for their patients. What are the problems? What do you expect? What do you expect with the telemedicine app? And then the prototype testing. Here are the results from a variety of doctors too. One from pediatrics or babies, another from my medical intern friends, one from biology, which is actually quite surprising, and one a physical therapist. Here are their answers, which I could send to you if you want, actually. Or I'm just going to link that in the description below. Okay, moving on. Describe and demonstrate the design of your project. Okay, for me, I already have Figma open, which is my app of choice. And this is currently the patient's side. So STAT, your virtual clinic, it emphasizes the main features such as your clinic digitalized since because of COVID, but for long-term purposes, it could be very, very convenient too. Next is only from the very best. We brag about the variety of doctors from well-known hospitals in the future, that is, and easy collection, because the fact that you can actually have your medications delivered or picked up at the pharmacy of your choice, that's what's meant by easy collection. It's COVID-oriented, which we'll be seeing in a while. And then we reassure the users by saying their data is safe with us. And yeah, we make them agree to the terms and conditions that they will never read. Next, we sign up. Sign up because I'm a new user. And then here is your basic info. You will be asked of your home addresses and such, and that kind of data won't be seen by anybody else, even the doctors. But that's later when you're like verified, when you finish the consultation, you can sign it up, you can fill it up later. There goes. That's actually my details. We sign up. And for safety's sake, we prompt new users to create pins. Why? Because if you have your phone lying around, it wouldn't be a good idea to have strangers go through your stuff, wouldn't it? So upon returning, since I'm a first-time user, I am here to create the pin, but upon returning, this is what it looks like. You enter your pin, and voila, you're in. This is how the prototype testing went. Congrats, you finished the intro. Please answer and click proceed. Make and finish an appointment. Let's do that, shall we? So you can either book an appointment or consult now, but as advertised, you can also get to a doctor in 3 easy steps. So we consult now. So we fill it up. Additional notes, I feel as though my neck is being strangled by Batman. Trademark. And yes, Dr. Tyrone. Oh, it's Dr. Tyrone. What about him? Oh, he's a 5-star doctor. His external, notable achievements. And then you can review your symptoms. You can also, there's also stuff to prepare to make teaching easier, which is I found out on a video from YouTube and how doctors are supposed to digitally monitor or look at their patients. So, but in this case, it's you. That's why you have to prepare a thermometer, a flashlight, and if possible, a blood pressure scanner. So we click consult now. That's 3. So this is how it goes. Hello, George. So, shall we begin? Good morning, doc. I am ready to video call. And we click here. That's the look of Dr. Tyrone. So, what were the meds again? Stat gives you a summary. So, you wouldn't be asking the doctor back and forth for the diagnosis and symptoms and everything. So, view summary of consultation, your diagnosis, prescription, and the doctor's signature. Finish appointment, or by default, Stat delivers the medications for the 100% contactless experience. So you finish your appointment, or you can track your delivery, but you finish your appointment, and that's task 1 for the user's prototype. So you finish an appointment, please answer the questions. Last task, update your charts in the COVID monitoring area. But before that, let's have a little tour around the app I worked hard for, right? So this is the intro, welcome, your name, and the recent notifications. You can look at your notifications. Please take your meds, you have an appointment, and you can even visit the calendar. What do I have to do? What's happening today? Go back, and that's your third tab on the bottom navigation. That you can see your profile, your medical records, vital signs, lab results, immunization. Of course, these are protected. Also, your electronic health record. And this part, sensitive information, this is where you can find your home address, cell phone numbers. And why is there a cell phone number? That's because in case all else fails, because of internet, the doctor can still continue via voice call. We also have a newsletter. For example, COVID-19 cases surge in the Philippines. Very sad. You can also follow us in Facebook. You can share this actually in Facebook, Twitter. Nice illustration by Basira, if that's how you pronounce it. Okay, so this is the COVID symptom tracker. See, look at the buttons. It's high contrast. Reminders and the newsletter. Okay, so let's go to the doctor. This is also what happens if you finished a consultation. You can now chat with the doctor and ask him stuff. You can also sort them chronologically, alphabetically. Here is where you mainly see your reminders. Let's go back to the home screen. Okay, that was it, Privacy policy, payment methods. Yes, for this you can opt to go for GCash and the likes of online payment methods. Go to nearby 7-Eleven. Ask for those who do not have those kind of stuff. We're still working on it, but if they have a phone, they have a GCash, right? Okay. Now we're here. We go back and we go to the symptom tracker, or COVID monitoring. Users will easily know this is a button because of its high contrast and buttony shape. So COVID monitoring. Okay, so now you're here in the COVID-19 section. In here you can find symptoms. Your monitoring of your symptoms for the past X days. You can filter it out for this week or for the overall weeks. So as you can see, it's recorded 1 day ago, although it is recommended that you update your symptoms twice a day. One day ago, it's 37.4 degrees Celsius. You can also update your cough, which happens to most hours, shortness of breath, moderate, dizziness, it comes and goes, and fatigue, mostly tired. That is not going to a good path. And yeah, STAT also does contact tracing. For when you are admitted and you have confirmed to have COVID, we'll hope that will not happen. So the doctor can then request a patient's history of visited places, and then of course the patient can give it to the doctor, but only for a limited amount of time, as for to not abuse it. And then the newsletter, and if we have emergencies, of course we need it to be accessible. So for emergencies, you can call 911, our emergency hotline, also 143 Philippine Red Cross. So let's update our symptoms. And yes, we may continue browsing. That's it for the patients. Now we move on to the doctors. Kind of loading. Okay, it's basically the same anatomy as with the patients. Let's skip that. Sign up. Basic info. What's new here is to fully confirm a doctor's, like if it's an authentic doctor, we have them attach a PRC file which will be confirmed, will be verified by our people behind. So specialty, what's your specialty? Time availability. We can always add new schedule in case something new happens. And for flexibility, requested fee per session. And of course, we'll be adding a little bit on top of that. Next. We log in. Still create a PIN. So you finish a part. The first task, actually, it was double clicked by the mouse. The first task is to finish an appointment. So this is the initial layout of the home screen. As you can see, there are appointment lists, the latest notification on top, that is David Diggs, Hamilton, COVID-19 monitoring, the contact tracing. You can see how your patients are doing here. Latest lab result, George Washington's X-ray. Yeah, before you can send it, it's actually sendable to the patient, like coming from the lab. They send it to you, they verify it, and then you can send it to your patient and even add extra notes. So analytics, this is also new for doctors to want to view their performance and how much they've earned. As you can see here, that's a lot of money. And yeah, appointments canceled, the demography of their patients. Still the newsletter at the bottom, and let's go to start appointment. A little peek here. You can even view the records. Start appointment. Hello George, shall we begin? But in the doctor's point of view. Video call. Everything's good. What were the meds again? View summary. You can type in, deliver. That'll be automatically, mind you, delivered to the patient's filled up address. It will be dealt with by the pharmacy. Last task, view and request a copy of the patient's location history in the COVID monitoring area. So we go here, as seen earlier, contact tracing, and you can see that patients over there, that's for patient I'm Tyrone. If you get the meme, you're good. His number, and yeah, here is how he is doing. And this is for the patient side, you can actually look at their info, their history. What would happen? What was their last visit? What was it for? What was the consultation results? Let's go back, shall we? And let's go to the second tab, that is appointments. Here in the patients, you can look at your existing patients, their records, and your chat. Hamilton is strong with this one. New patient request list. But before that, say you're about to have several appointments a day. You don't, of course, everything will be jumbled in your mind unless you place your reminders. I.e., Carl Ko should have taken his medicines right now. Please check on him. And then let's look at the new patient request. So it's quite a similar layout. Here you can see his symptoms. Mind you, this is for the appointment, not the consult now. Patient requests are here in the appointment if you have like a specific doctor in mind who uses that. Then let's go to the Me tab. It's still quite the same since you're still a human being. It's your profile, medical records, COVID monitoring for you too, because doctors also get sick, they're human, and the performance. And that's pretty much it for the discovery, the tour of our app. So we go back to describe and demonstrating our project, so describing it. So it's for a diverse audience, so we have to make sure that the UI is super easy and accessible with different levels of tech literacy. We want a grandpa to be able to use this. And so there we have intuitive navigation based on intuition, their instincts, high readability with light background that emphasizes content, eye-catching visuals such as the illustrations, clear and solid typography with sans serif font for easy scanning. Also, there's color contrast if you've noticed the update symptoms button with bright colors to attract users to interactive zones of the layout. What makes my project unique? Our project. It introduces a foreign but essential solution currently crafted around and beyond thinking long-term, the problem we are facing. It encourages the transition toward a hassle-free and accurate digital era via decentralization of electronic health records. In fact, this may be the starter, like the prompt for the government or any private business who would like to centralize our electronic health records. It has a self-sustaining business model and protects the very treasure of humanity, our lives, while reducing the threat of exposure to more disease and promoting early detection, because as soon as you feel like something's wrong, you can go ask the doctor, therefore reducing the potential costs of the patient. So instead, time will be spent on productivity instead of long waiting, leading to the growth of our very own country. So thinking big. That is STAT, your virtual clinic. Please contact us if you are a potential wanter, and thank you for the opportunity, SF Tech. Here are our contacts. And remember, STAT, your virtual clinic.
Health truly is wealth, especially in these trying times. But every now and then, we seek for medical advice when feeling something out of blue. So how do you get yourself checked when going outside is a matter of life and death? Enter STAT, your virtual clinic, an app concept made by Carl Ko and Nickie Himaya. STAT, coming from the Latin word statum, meaning immediately, immediate healthcare. With that, STAT makes it easy to talk to a doctor in 3 easy steps. Step 1. Choose a doctor to consult to, or in this case, we talk to an available doctor now. Step 2. Type in your symptoms. Specify if you have to. After having a good look, I don't think Batman's going to appreciate that accusation. Step 3. Prepare yourself by going into a quiet and private room with the requested materials ready on hand. You may now start your video call. Once the consultation is done, a summary of diagnosis with the prescription will be sent to you. Stat also gives you the option to have your medications sent to your home or allow you to pick it up at a pharmacy of your choice, with the former being a medically better method due to less exposure. Talking about the coronavirus, Stat has a dedicated place where you can update your symptoms as well as a tracker which can be accessed by doctors quickly for only a certain amount of time upon approval of request from the patient, of course, because privacy. Not only that, but Stat can also gather patient information via electronic health records. Doctors can now look at the patient's basic information, past lab results, allergies, and more. Digital consultations, a safe and convenient collection of medication, COVID monitoring and tracing, a medical newsletter, and electronic health records. All of that just a tap away. Stat, your virtual clinic.